In this video, I'm going to tell you about the brand new expansion for Kill Team, Shadowvaults, and what's going on. So there's a new expansion coming out for Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team, and it's called Shadowvaults. And Shadowvaults is, so we had Into the Dark, which came with terrain that makes kind of like a Space Hulk sort of situation. Not Space Hulk the game, but Space Hulk the concept. A bunch of spaceships floating around in the warp and whatnot, and they're all stuck together and all that jazz. So it's a new type of terrain for Kill Team. Normally Kill Team games are played outdoors, right? Or out of doors. But in this situation, you're inside of a spaceship and you have walls and hatches and all that kind of jazz. And you probably saw a lot of stuff about Into the Dark, and you've probably seen a lot of stuff about Shadowvaults. The embargo on when we could talk about it was like last week, but I was really busy. And so I want to talk about it this week. But it's more than just like, oh, here's an unboxing of like the stuff, which I've already taken out of the box. So is that barely even an unboxing at that point? I don't know. There's a little bit more to it than just here's the things that are in the box. There's the things that are kind of going around Shadowvaults, and it's a little weird. Now, the two forces that are in Shadowvaults are the Khazarkins, which are basically like super duper fancy Imperial Guard. They are completely new models. Those are completely new. And then there's also Necrons in here. And pretty much everything in the Necron side of this box is old, except for one sprue that's from 2022. That rhymes. But everything else is like from 2011 or 2017. There's Immortals and some Death Marks and a Cryptic and some other jazz. And then there's a sprue of extra stuff. So here's the three sprues for the Khazarkins. There's a lot of parts to them. Some of the heads, the faces are separate. Like it's a gas mask, and that part you have to glue into the helmet, which is weird. I'm assuming it's due to there's like two like respirator tanks, kind of like when you're airbrushing and you get that, yeah, it's like that. And I'm assuming for the mold to be able to pull apart, they have to make it so that those are separate from the faces. It's kind of like the thing from Horus Heresy where they made the studded shoulder pads two pieces. Otherwise, they couldn't come out of the mold properly, as opposed to the old days when they used to make them just one piece, but then all the studs on the sides of the shoulder pad were all elongated and weird looking, so they could come out of those molds. Those molds are made out of steel. They're not going anywhere. There's no flex. They have no chill, those molds. So you have to build things, and if you want certain things to look a certain way, well, then you end up having a face separate from your head and gluing a tiny little face into a helmet, which is not necessarily ideal. But the models are kind of cool. I built one and painted him just for fun. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. But they're very new models. I got to be honest, when I first saw the new Khazarkins, I was like, I just don't know that I like them. There was something about them that was bothering them. And then as I built and painted one, it turns out it was the paint job that they had done, like the studio paint job. It's not that it was bad. I'm not saying that they did a bad job. It just wasn't to my liking. And again, it was like color scheme and all that kind of stuff. Not like, oh, they didn't do the blending good enough. Like, who am I, right? But I'm just saying the color scheme just, for some reason, I didn't like it. So when I did mine, I went very subtle. I used some very simple grays, Army Painter grays from, for their airbrush line, and kind of did a zenithal, but not a black and white zenithal. It was more a couple of different grays and all that kind of stuff. And then I just did a lot of washes and things like that, and some contrasts and a little bit of metallics on the shoulders and the gun and the sword and all that jazz. I like the way it turned out. But cool models, and the Necrons are Necrons. The new sprue, there's not a ton to it, but yeah, there is some stuff. Otherwise, we also have the terrain, which is pretty much exactly like we had in Into the Dark. It's the same stuff, except there's, again, I think, a new sprue. So there's a lot of it. This box is cheaper than the last box, but it also doesn't come with a rule book. The core book so that's kind of standard. That's the way they did it when they released Kill Team 2021. The first box was Octarius, and it came with the core book and two completely new forces. Then there was Chalnath, Nachmund, and Morok. None of them had the core book, I don't believe, and each one of those sets had one new force and then one old force with an added sprue. And that's what they've done here. This was, Into the Dark was basically the Octarius of this year, if that makes any sense. I don't know. And then now this is the, the Chelnath of this year so far. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Anyway, lots of more stuff in here. This, I believe, is the sprue that is new for the terrain, right? So you've got the cool kind of tank tread sort of thing with the saw on it. You've seen the pictures. I'm not necessarily blown anyone's mind, but there's little weapon kind of like stuff. It's kind of cool. There's neat stuff in here that I could see using in a lot of other games as well. But yeah, that's the one add-on sprue. And then here we go. Here's our Cryptek from 2017. And I think this is the new sprue. Yes, 2022. So this is the new sprue for the Necrons. It is literally just kind of add-on parts a little bit. I mean, there's a couple other little things in here, but it's a lot of add-on parts, new heads for the death marks and jazz like that, which is kind of cool. But that's literally about it. That's what you're going to get. Otherwise, the rest of the stuff, there's bases in here, there's a board, there's all the stuff that you would need to play. There's your little booklet, and the booklet tells you about, how to put everything together. I feel like they've gotten a little better with, like in the past, there's times where like you can build a model one of two ways, but if you build it this way, then you can't build it that way and that kind of stuff. And looking at the list building now, you don't kind of work yourself into a corner as much by going, well, I want this guy, so now therefore I can't take that guy. It seems to fit, at least on the Casterkin side. I was looking at the list building quite a bit. It seems like they're working a little bit better to make it so that it's not so problematic like it was, where if you're like, well, if you build this guy, then you can't build the other two guys, and then you can't have a list with this guy and that guy in it and that kind of stuff. So they've made some duplications, there's multiple guys holding plasma guns. So if you decide to make this guy the medic, then you can't build this guy with the plasma gun, but on the other body, then you can do the best plasma gun over there, that kind of stuff. They've done some work, and I appreciate that. Transfer sheet. It's been some time, I think, since we've had a new Cadian transfer sheet. You can't really see it much here because it's mostly white on white, but it's a lot of little tiny numbers and little symbols and tiny little skulls and stuff like that, and I think that's cool. I appreciate that. I have a suspicion that people are going to buy this box, and this kind of happened a little bit with Pariah Nexus way back in the day, where people were buying it because they wanted the parts for 40K, not so much that they wanted the parts for Kill Team. Now, there's still a lot of Pariah Nexuses. Nexi? Anyway, there's a lot of those boxes still laying around in local game stores. So if you are looking for some, plastic flayed ones, go check your local game store. I bet you they'd be glad to get you a copy of Pariah Nexus. There's a book that comes with it as well, Shadowvaults. And again, it has stats and, new missions and all the normal stuff that we've expected over the last, now, it's been over a year since they've launched Kill Team 2021. There's nothing really. There's our guy, the Breacher robot. There's the haulage robot, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty much more of the same. I'm going to be perfectly honest to you. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Here's what's weird, though. Into the Dark came out 6 weeks ago. So the concept was this, from what we were told. There was going to be Into the Dark, and then there were going to be 3 over each quarter. And then probably sometime next summer, they were going to have another fancy box. And then again, it just seems to be the way they're doing things these days. It's the way they did since the launch of Kill Team 21. There was Octarius, which was the big boom launch box, 2 forces that were totally new, core box, etc. Then 3 months later, roughly, you had Chelnath, then you had Nachmund, then you had Morok, and then there was some time, and then Into the Dark. And this time they even told us what the next 3 were going to be. It's Shadowvaults, Soul Shackle, and Gallowfall are the next 3 boxes. And this is Shadowvaults, and this is 6 weeks since, I counted, it's 6 weeks since the launch of Into the Dark. A quarter is 12 weeks. So that's kind of weird, right? Also, it's completely sold out already. I'm filming this on Thursday, October 20th, 2022. As of yesterday, you could still pre-order the Shadowvaults box, Shadowvaults, in the US and Canada, but every other little flag that I clicked on the GW website said, this is no longer available online. So that's kind of weird. As of this morning, Thursday morning, like I said, now you can't buy them anymore. The pre-order is done. There's nothing to buy through the U.S., Canada, or any else of the little flags on the website. And that's kind of weird, right? I mean, maybe this is very, very, very popular. But there's also been some other sort of strange things, rumors and such, that have been going around. There was a message from a game store, an unidentified game store, and this was on Reddit, so take it with a big grain of salt, but it's been going around, the internet, and it was a store saying, look, we've been told we're not going to get as many copies of Shadowvaults as we ordered, and you are someone who pre-ordered, so we just want to let you know that not as much of it is coming. Also, there won't be a reorder. There's no second wave. Very frequently, the way that these projects work is that they'll put it out there, they'll make X amount, they'll ship it, it'll sell, and then if there's a lot of people who still are looking for it, they will make a second wave, and that's happened a bunch. As a matter of fact, you can still buy Into the Dark on the GW website as of right now, Thursday afternoon. You can still buy Into the Dark, which is the previous version, but this version's already sold out, and it doesn't say temporarily sold out online. They have different little messages that they put on the website, temporarily sold out online, that kind of stuff. This just says no longer available online or something like that. It's not the same message, so that's kind of weird. And the fact that it's coming out so quickly after Into the Dark. When it showed up in the mail, I was like, did I fall asleep for a month or two? This is weird. Or are they just sending it that much early? And then I looked at the embargo date and I'm like, no, they want, the 15th was the embargo date. So that's of October. So that's really odd. What's going on? The issue is probably the fact that the global shipping crisis, the global supply crisis, all that stuff that was spawned from, our fun time with the pandemic, that stuff's not over yet. So there's a very good chance that this Shadowvaults box is kind of pulling a little bit of a cursed city. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a year, I don't know, time's a flat circle. I have no idea how long ago it was. Like a year and a half ago, maybe, Games Workshop came out with this Warhammer Quest Cursed City box, and people got it, and it was cool, and then it was completely unavailable after that, and then they just stopped talking about it. Now, this was a game that everybody assumed was going to be like Blackstone Fortress, where there was going to be, here's the box, it's going to be available for quite some time, we're going to make a bunch of expansions, boom, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then it just disappeared, and there was no reason why. They didn't say a thing about why. It just, they just stopped talking about it. And then, I don't know, about 6 months ago, they were like, oh, hey, yeah, Cursed City, we're going to release that again. And just nothing, just no words about it. And I don't understand that. I'm assuming it's some sort of marketing idea that, I'm not blaming Games Workshop for the global, shipping crisis or the global, supply chain crisis. Lord knows they're a big multi-billion-dollar company, but they are, they got to do the same stuff that everyone else is doing. There are companies way bigger than them outside of the gaming industry that are also having a real hard time getting things into stores and getting things across the ocean and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But they'll also be like, yeah, we're having a problem because of this and this, and we can't get these chips and that kind of stuff. And they will kind of mention that, and then people will go, oh, okay, cool. But Games Workshop has no interest in doing that. And I don't know what that is. I'm assuming, like I said, it's some sort of marketing strategy where, well, if we say something about it, then people will see it, and then they'll know. I don't know where the rest of it comes from, honestly. I'm not necessarily a great marketer, but in my mind, letting people know, hey, we're hoping that this comes back, hang on, would be a good idea. The fact that basically, if you want to get Shadowvaults, you may not be able to. If you're just thinking about it and saying, I think I'll go down to the local shop, good luck. Now, your local shop very possibly may have ordered a copy or multiple copies or whatever, and you might get there first on Saturday morning or whatever the deal might be. That can happen, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of folks out there that have been talking on the internet about the fact that they can't pre-order the game, and there's been no talk about why. So we don't know exactly. I'm, again, going to blame the pandemic and what it's done to the global shipping, everything. But it would be really nice, I think, if Games Workshop would maybe give people a heads up and let people know, because maybe they will come back with this. Like I said, the stores, from what I understand, have been told The rumor going around is the stores have been told that there's not going to be a second wave. So, well, that's kind of a bummer, right? But what happens if they've been told that and then 3 months down the road, or maybe even 2 months down the road, yeah, it does come back. Maybe that's why they shipped it early, because they're hoping to get in a second wave before the next one, which is going to be called Soul Shackle, launches. And, juggling all of these schedules is very difficult in this particular time that we live in. I get it. I just think that a little bit more conversation, with us, the consumers, would be sort of nice. And I'm a person who, again, I would love to know just as much as you. And I do know as much as you, which is not that much. So if you're interested in this, it's kind of more of the same since, Into the Dark. And I hope that you were able to pre-order it, and I hope that you get it, whether you're ordering it from your local store or whether you're ordering it direct from Games Workshop. I hope that you can get a hold of it if you want to. Most likely the models will come out separately. That's what they've done in the past, but it's usually another several months, in the future before those models actually drop in separate boxes. And with all the stuff going weird with shipping and stuff like that, who knows? So I hope that this was at least slightly interesting or, valuable to you. Let me know what you think the problem is with Kill Team and why we're seeing this within 6 weeks of the last one down in the comments below. If you like this video, you can hit the like button. I'd appreciate that. And subscribe if you're interested. Thanks for watching.